Hello, I'm Captain Lee Moak, President of the Airline Pilots Association. The airline industry is the most federally regulated industry in the United States. The laws that Congress initiates and passes directly affect our daily lives. So we believe very strongly that part of our job at ALPA is to actively participate in that process to ensure the legislation signed into law is pro-pilot at every level. I'm happy to report on several recent achievements in Washington, D.C., and we're going to keep adding to the list throughout 2012 and beyond. First, there are the new flight and duty time rules. At the end of 2011, the FAA published a final fatigue rule that was excellent for pilots who carry passengers. The rule includes almost all of the policies and science-based requirements that we had advocated for throughout the regulatory and legislative process. Unfortunately, the new rule excluded the pilots who carry cargo exclusively, and that includes our members at Federal Express, Capital Cargo, Evergreen, A-Star, and ATI. We have already had more than 150 pilot meetings on Capitol Hill. That means pilots in uniform talking with members of Congress about this issue and why it's so important to the safety of our skies. I want to thank all the passenger pilots who have been part of this effort by joining their fellow ALPA cargo pilots in these meetings. We're working towards legislation to direct the FAA to include cargo operations in the new pilot fatigue rule. We have a long road ahead on this issue, but we will not stop until we're successful. Second, this past September, Congress set up a joint committee often referred to as the Super Committee, which was directed to begin work on fixing our nation's deficit woes. Right away, some members of this committee proposed plans to tax our negotiated benefits, specifically our employer-provided health care, as a way of closing the budget deficit. Thanks in large part to our efforts, more than 150 members of Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, signed a letter supporting our position opposing an excise tax on these benefits. In fact, we were so successful that the proposal didn't even earn enough support for a vote. Third, the Export-Import Bank. Where should I start? The bank is a U.S. taxpayer-financed, and it's been giving out billions of dollars in loan guarantees to our foreign competitors, who've been using that money to drive our planes and our pilots out of the international market. The bank takes our tax money and uses it to provide below-market financing to foreign airlines like Air India and Emirates to acquire top-of-the-line, wide-body aircraft from Boeing, which can then be used on routes in direct competition against our carriers. This practice has already resulted in more than 4,000 lost jobs at U.S. carriers. At the end of last year, the bank asked Congress to increase its lending cap so it could do even more financing. We successfully prevented that from happening by arguing that there must be a larger public debate about the bank's role in the aviation sector. The bank's reauthorization is now on the agenda for Congress to debate again, and we are fighting hard every day to make sure that its new charter will include an obligation for transparency and an obligation to conduct employment impact studies on its aircraft loan guarantees. We want to make sure that the bank never again finances the outsourcing of pilot jobs. Going forward into 2012, we're going to focus on combining the great defensive legislative strategy we've been using into an aggressive and powerful offense. We need Congress to take action now to reform the EXIM Bank. We need Congress to be proactive on leveling the playing field for our employers with common sense tax reform. We need open skies agreements that contain labor provisions to protect the jobs of U.S. pilots. In the same way that we determinedly approached Congress regarding pilot fatigue and got a mandate for change, We will ask our representatives to take up these issues and act now to make our profession safer, stronger, and better at every level. This is where ALPA PAC comes in. The PAC is one of our strongest legislative tools because it allows us the opportunity to thoroughly educate members of Congress on our issues. It also allows us to start and build relationships with new members of Congress. Once we have an established relationship with an office, ALPA's unmatched expertise on aviation issues comes to bear. When we're given a fair opportunity to present our position on an issue, we can win. I know some people can be suspicious about money in politics, but the facts are this. Every day, we're working against organizations and special interests that have a large, multi-million-dollar PAC and even larger advocacy budget. If we don't have a strong, powerful PAC, we'll be at a huge disadvantage in these legislative battles. Whether the issue involves economics, collective bargaining, benefits, safety, or security, ALPA's positions earn respect and win votes. When given a fair hearing, we will carry the day. And that's why ALPA PAC is so important and why it makes the difference between victory and defeat on Capitol Hill. It helps to ensure we get that fair hearing and to level our playing field in Washington so that we can get Washington to level the playing field for us globally. Thank you for watching.